The stars twinkled above Earth, seemingly peaceful, as they always had been. But there was an undercurrent of tension, one that had been building for years. Humanity had been at peace for so long, and yet everyone knew deep down that the galaxy was full of dangers. But nothing could have prepared Earth for what was about to happen. It started on a quiet day, in a small colony on a distant planet. Life was normal, the sound of children playing and people working. But high above, the calm was shattered as hundreds of massive ships entered the planet's atmosphere. They were alien ships, their dark hulls glistening with weapons and technology unlike anything humans had ever seen. The first warning came as a loud, rumbling sound echoed through the colony. Buildings shook as the first blast hit, a bolt of energy so powerful it left a trail of destruction in its wake. People screamed, running for cover, but there was no escape. The aliens were ruthless. Their ships fired without hesitation, tearing through the colony like it was nothing more than a toy. They had come to claim the planet, to destroy everything in their path. Back on Earth, the leaders watched in horror as the attack was broadcasted live. The president, standing in the White House, stared at the screen, his face pale. How could this happen? He whispered to his staff, his voice barely audible. The defense systems had been strong, but no one had expected a full-scale invasion like this. The aliens had bypassed every Earth defense, using technology so advanced it seemed impossible. But what the aliens didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for a moment like this. Not with weapons or soldiers, but with a secret force hidden away in the shadows. The entire planet had come together, silently, ready for the day when they would have to fight back. And that day had arrived. On the far side of the Earth, deep within a secret military base, a small group of high-ranking officers were watching the attack unfold. Their faces were grim, but their eyes held a spark of something different, determination. They had known this day would come. They had been waiting for it, and now it was time to unleash the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built. "What are the orders?" a young officer asked, standing at attention beside the senior commander. The commander, a weathered man with sharp eyes, glanced at the screen showing the destruction of the colony. He stood silent for a moment, watching the alien ships as they methodically obliterated everything in their path. "Activate the fleet," the commander said, his voice steady. "It's time they learned who they're dealing with." Across the globe, a network of hidden military stations hummed to life. Thousands of soldiers, scientists, and engineers moved into action. Weapon systems powered up, ships rose from their hidden launch bays, and battle-ready war machines went online. Earth's greatest secret was about to be revealed. And it wasn't just the soldiers who were preparing for battle. Every human on Earth had a part to play, whether they knew it or not. This was no longer just a fight for one colony, it was a fight for survival. The world was about to unite in a way it never had before. As the alien ships continued their assault, the atmosphere grew tense. The world held its breath, watching as the massive ships poured fire onto the planet. The aliens were efficient, tearing through cities, their lasers cutting through the air like hot knives through butter. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this before. Their weapons were no match for the alien tech. But there was one thing the aliens had underestimated: Earth's determination. In space, the first Terran warship finally broke through the atmosphere. It was unlike anything the aliens had seen. The ship was massive, with dark hulls and a sleek, intimidating design. Its weapons were designed for one thing: destruction. The ship's captain, a calm and calculating leader, stood at the command center staring out at the approaching alien ships. His voice was cold, but filled with purpose as he gave the order. "Target the largest ship," he said. "Prepare to fire." The ship's cannons powered up, glowing a deep red. The first shot fired, and the explosion that followed sent shockwaves through space. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their ships were powerful, but this was a new kind of threat. A threat they weren't prepared for. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The first alien ship had been destroyed. But the war was far from over. The aliens, now knowing they had underestimated Earth, began to regroup. The battle had just begun, and Earth's true strength was about to be revealed. But as the alien fleet shifted into a new formation, preparing for a counterattack, the commander of the Terran warship received an urgent message. The alien leader from the largest ship was speaking directly to him. "Humanity," the voice said, cold and taunting. "You have no idea what you've started? We will crush you." The commander stood silent for a moment, his fingers gripping the edge of his chair. Then with a grim smile he responded, "We've been waiting for you." As the alien fleet began to move forward, the true power of humanity's secret weapon slowly began to reveal itself. The galaxy would never be the same again. And the aliens? They would never return. Just as the alien leader's ship prepared to fire, an enormous Terran warship dropped from the shadows of a nearby moon, its engines roaring. The message was clear. Earth had just unleashed its true might, and it was only the beginning. The first shot had been fired, and the alien fleet had suffered a blow that echoed across the galaxy. But Earth wasn't done yet. The battle had only just begun. As the alien ships regrouped, their dark forms swirling in space, something incredible happened. From deep within Earth's orbit, a new fleet began to emerge. These weren't the small defense ships the aliens had destroyed with ease. They were massive warships, built in secret, hidden away from the prying eyes of the galaxy. They had been waiting for this moment, built for the sole purpose of defending Earth and retaliating against anyone who dared to attack. Far above Earth's atmosphere, the Terran warships lined up, their massive hulls glinting in the cold void of space. The ships were designed not just for battle, but for domination. With their enormous guns, advanced shields, and unparalleled speed, these ships were a force the aliens hadn't expected, and it was far too late for them to prepare for it now. Inside the command center of one of Earth's warships, Captain Michael Stone stood at the front, his eyes locked onto the screens displaying the alien fleet. His hand gripped the armrest of his chair, his muscles tense with anticipation. He had fought in smaller battles before, but this was different. This was Earth's stand. This was humanity's message to the galaxy. We will not be conquered. "Ready all weapons," Captain Stone ordered, his voice low but filled with authority. The officers around him moved quickly, inputting commands and checking systems. The engines of the warships hummed to life, the massive vessels slowly turning to face the oncoming alien fleet. "Captain, we've detected an incoming transmission from the alien flagship," one of the officers reported. "They're trying to talk." Stone's lips tightened. He wasn't interested in negotiation. He had seen what the aliens had done to the colony. The time for talking was over. "Put it on screen," he said, his voice hard. A large image of the alien leader appeared on the screen, his cold alien eyes staring down at the crew. He'd looked furious, but there was a hint of fear behind his gaze. He knew what was coming. "Humanity," the alien leader spat. "You will pay for what you've done. You have no idea what you've unleashed. My fleet will crush you." Captain Stone's eyes narrowed. "Your fleet is already in pieces. And you've just made a big mistake." Without another word, Stone turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare to fire!" The officer nodded, typing furiously at the controls. A moment later, the warship's massive cannons charged up, the sound of energy crackling through the air. The entire ship seemed to shudder with the power about to be unleashed. "Fire!" Captain Stone barked. A blast of energy shot out from the warship, a beam of pure destruction that streaked across space and struck one of the alien ships head-on. The alien ship exploded in a violent burst, scattering debris across the cold emptiness of space. The explosion was so powerful it sent shockwaves through the entire alien fleet. The alien leader watched in stunned silence as his ship was destroyed, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. He hadn't expected Earth to have such advanced weapons, let alone such a devastating first strike. He had underestimated humanity, and now it was too late to undo the damage. "Pull back! Pull back!" the alien leader shouted, his voice full of panic. "Regroup! Regroup!" But it was no use. Earth's fleet was too powerful, too organized. As the alien ships began to retreat, more Terran warships appeared from the shadows of nearby moons. their massive guns aimed directly at the alien ships. On Earth, every news outlet broadcasted the destruction live. People watched in awe as their planet's fleet fought back against the invaders. The realization set in. Humanity was not the weak species they had once thought. The world had finally united, and together they were powerful. But the aliens weren't going to give up that easily. The remaining ships in the alien fleet began to regroup, trying to re-establish a formation. They had lost several ships, but they still had numbers on their side. They weren't going to let a single defeat stand in the way of their conquest. In the depths of space, the battle raged on. But as the alien ships attempted to escape, a new weapon came. Online, from Earth's largest warship, an enormous cannon powered up. This weapon, still in its prototype phase, was something the galaxy had never seen. It was a weapon designed to pierce the very heart of an enemy fleet. "Captain, the prototype cannon is ready," reported the weapons officer. Stone's eyes glinted with determination. "Fire it!" The cannon charged, its massive barrel glowing with a deadly energy. A beam of pure force shot out from the warship, cutting through space with an impossible speed. It hit the alien flagship directly, tearing through its shields like they were paper, and detonating the core of the ship in a spectacular explosion. The remaining alien ships, now severely weakened and disorganized, had no choice but to retreat into the vastness of space, scattering like insects fleeing from a predator. But as the alien ships turned to run, the Galactic Council watched from afar. They were horrified. Earth had just shown them that humanity was not to be underestimated. The alien leader, now aboard his final retreat ship, looks at the screen displaying the Earth fleet's victorious warships. His voice cracks with fear as he mutters, "This isn't over. The Council will make sure of it." Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The most powerful alien species had suffered an unimaginable defeat, and the enemy they had long underestimated had shown them a terrifying truth. Earth, a once peaceful world, had awakened, and they were fighting back with a strength the galaxy had never seen before. The aliens, who had once ruled the cosmos, were now running from humanity's wrath. In the heart of the Galactic Council, the leaders of the most powerful empires in the galaxy gathered. The once imposing council chambers were now filled with nervous tension. The alien species that had dominated the galaxy for centuries were shaken, their confident, mocking smiles replaced by anxious glances. "The Terran fleet is unlike anything we've ever faced," said High Commander Valcor, the reptilian leader of the Sothran Empire. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "We cannot let this stand. We've underestimated them for far too long." A murmur of agreement ran through the room. Alien species from every corner of the galaxy, Veltar, Tiklor, Zarxi, nodded, fear and frustration written across their faces. They had all assumed that Earth, a primitive species, was no threat to their vast, well-established empire. But now Earth's power was undeniable, and the damage to their fleets had been catastrophic. Councillor Jakar, a hulking alien with 6 arms, slammed his fist onto the table, sending a ripple of shock through the room. "We can't let Earth control the galaxy's future. We must strike back with everything we have. We cannot allow them to rise above us." "You don't understand," said Garlax, the slender, sharp-eyed leader of the Elvovian Dominion, his voice full of disbelief. "They've already won. Our fleet is shattered. Their weapons are beyond anything we can imagine. And now Earth knows what it is capable of. If we attack again, we risk an even greater defeat. The humans have shown us they will not back down." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. The Council knew Earth was no longer a small, insignificant player in the galaxy. They were a rising force, an unstoppable wave of retribution. "We have no choice," Valcor said, his voice low and determined. "If we allow Earth to remain unchecked, the galaxy will be at their mercy. We must crush them now, before they gain even more power. But we are not prepared for another full-scale war," said Tiklor, a hulking figure covered in thick armor. "They've destroyed one of our biggest warships with ease. What more do they have?" The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Earth had dealt a blow they hadn't anticipated, and now they were scrambling for a way to fight back. But no matter what strategy they devised, it was clear that the Terrans had the upper hand. The galaxy's mightiest fleets were being decimated one by a force they had never seen before. "Perhaps we can negotiate," suggested Jakar, trying to salvage some hope. "Offer them terms of peace. Maybe they'll listen. They are still a young species after all." A burst of laughter broke out in the room, but it quickly stopped when the council members realized the severity of Jakar's suggestion. The idea of negotiating with Earth after what they had done seemed laughable. They knew what humanity was capable of now. They didn't need to negotiate. They didn't need mercy. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and if anyone tried to stop them, they would be crushed. "The time for talks is over," said Valcor, rising from his chair. "We must prepare for war, on a scale we've never seen before." The council members reluctantly agreed. They had no other choice. They would regroup and rebuild what they could. Earth had taken them by surprise, but the aliens were far from beaten. They would strike back, and they would strike hard. As the council members began to plan their counterattack, they failed to notice the quiet figure standing in the corner of the room. Commander Thaldar, an elite officer from the Veltar fleet, had been listening intently to the conversation. His expression was grim as he stepped forward, his voice laced with fear. "There's something you all haven't considered," Thaldar said, his voice shaking slightly. The council members turned to him, puzzled. "The humans, they're not just fighting back. They're hunting us," he continued, his eyes wide with dread. "I've been tracking their movements. They're not waiting for us to attack. They're coming for us one by one. They're systematically targeting our fleets and bases, picking us off like prey. They've become the hunters, and they're relentless." A heavy silence filled the chamber. The council had always viewed humanity as weak and divided, but now they were learning the painful truth. Earth had the will to survive, and they were willing to do whatever it took to make sure they never faced such an attack again. Valcor's eyes narrowed, a look of realization dawning on him. "Then we must strike back immediately, or we will be hunted like the others." Thaldar nodded grimly. "If we don't act quickly, Earth will wipe us out, one by one." As the Council hurriedly made plans, a message arrived at the Galactic Council's command center. A large screen flashed the message from a remote fleet captain. "It's too late. Earth's warships are already here. They've found us." The screen flickered with static, showing the approach of a massive Terran warship facing down their fleet. The Terran soldiers aboard the ship prepared for battle, ready to make sure the aliens never returned. The Galactic Council's chambers were in chaos. The councillors were now fully aware of the nightmare they had unleashed upon themselves. Earth had shown them a power they hadn't even begun to comprehend. But the worst was still to come. As they scrambled to formulate a response, they failed to realize the true extent of humanity's preparations. While the alien leaders argued, far below in Earth's deepest, most secretive military facilities, a different kind of preparation was underway. The real power of Earth was not its warships or advanced weapons. The true weapon had been kept hidden for years, quietly growing in the shadows, humanity's greatest secret. Inside the secret research facility, deep beneath the surface of an uninhabited island, scientists and soldiers worked feverishly to complete what could only be described as humanity's last, most terrifying creation. This was no ordinary weapon. This was a new breed of soldier, a creation designed not just for battle, but for total annihilation. The human soldiers assigned to this project were known only by their code names, Apex units. Each one was a marvel of human engineering and bioenhancement, augmented with cutting-edge technology and genetic modifications. They were designed to surpass the limitations of the human body, to be stronger, faster, and smarter than any normal soldier. The Apex units were part human, part machine, a new breed of warrior created to defend Earth at any cost. Captain Sarah Adams, a former Special Forces officer, stood at the front of the line as the Apex units prepared for their final test. The soldiers around her were clad in sleek, high-tech exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed. Their faces were grim, but their eyes burned with the fire of a species pushed too far. These soldiers were Earth's final line of defense, and they were ready to do whatever it took to protect their home. Ready for deployment. "Captain," one of the technicians said, his voice tense with anticipation, "the enhancements are all online. We're good to go." Captain Adams nodded, her eyes scanning the faces of the soldiers who stood in front of her. They were different now, stronger, faster, and more dangerous than any force the galaxy had ever seen. But there was something else in their eyes, something that went beyond just the drive to win. "You know what this means," she said, her voice steady and firm. "When we deploy, there's no turning back. We go in, we take out their fleets, and we send a message that no one will ever forget." A soldier in the back of the line spoke up, his voice filled with confidence. "They won't know what hit them, Captain." "Good," Captain Adams replied, a sharp smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Then let's give them hell." As she gave the order, the Apex units loaded into the transport ships, their weapons ready. They would be the vanguard of humanity's response to the alien threat. No longer would Earth cower in the shadows. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity had a secret it was prepared to reveal, and that secret was terrifying. Back on the bridge of Earth's largest warship, Captain Michael Stone watched as the fleet's status reports flooded in. The alien fleet had retreated into a nearby star system, trying to regroup, but the Terran fleet had already closed in on them. Earth's warships were prepared, but this time something felt different. This wasn't just another skirmish, it was the beginning of a new phase of war. The warship's sensors blinked with activity. A new fleet, far more dangerous than any fleet before it, was on the way. This wasn't just a fleet of ships, it was a fleet of soldiers, and these soldiers were more than ready for what was coming. "Captain, the Apex units are ready for launch," came the voice of the communications officer. Stone's face hardened. The time had come. "Deploy them," he ordered, his voice cold and commanding. "Let's show the galaxy what happens when humanity gets angry." In the vastness of space, Earth's fleet surrounded the alien ships, cutting off all escape routes. The alien ships, still in disarray after the initial defeat, were ill-prepared for the final strike. They had no idea that the true nightmare had yet to begin. Without warning, the Apex unit's transport ships blasted through the atmosphere, their engines roaring as they tore through the void at incredible speeds. Each transport ship carried a dozen of Earth's finest soldiers, each one equipped with advanced weaponry and exoskeletons that made them nearly unstoppable. The units descended onto the alien fleet with pinpoint precision, landing on the massive warships with the force of a meteor strike. As the transport ships touched down on the alien ships, the Apex units sprang into action. They moved like a deadly swarm, fast, efficient, and merciless. The soldiers tore through alien defenses, cutting through armored doors and corridors as though they were made of paper. Their weapons, armed with plasma blades and high-powered rifles, made short work of the alien forces they encountered. The aliens fought back, but they were no match for the Apex units. These soldiers weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for revenge. Each strike was calculated, each move deliberate. The aliens, who had once thought of themselves as the dominant force in the galaxy, now found themselves at the mercy of Earth's most deadly weapon. Back on Earth, the world watched in awe as the battle raged on. News outlets broadcast the attack live, showing the Apex unit's descent into the heart of the alien warships. People cheered as the soldiers fought back, each victory a step closer to victory for humanity. But while the world celebrated, the Galactic Council was watching in horror. They had no idea what they had unleashed. The alien leader, now watching the destruction unfold from the command center of his flagship, clenched his fists in rage. "This is not over," he hissed. "We will not be defeated by these humans." But it was too late. Earth's true weapon had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the final alien warship fell, the Apex units stood victorious, their mission complete. But as the leader of the alien fleet tried to make one last desperate escape, a lone Terran warship appeared on the horizon, its cannons powered up, ready to finish what had been started. The Terrans had made their message clear. No alien would ever return to Earth. The battle was escalating. The alien forces, now thoroughly shaken by the Apex unit's onslaught, were desperately trying to regroup. Earth's fleet had crippled them, but the most terrifying threat remained. The Galactic Council had one last card to play. They weren't going to back down. Their remaining fleets, larger and more powerful than anything humanity had yet encountered, were preparing for a counterstrike. The final showdown between Earth and the galaxy's mightiest forces was about to unfold. In the heart of the alien fleet, one ship stood above all others, the Zarkar, an enormous warship the size of a small moon. It was the jewel of the Galactic Council's armada, a behemoth designed to crush entire planets with its massive weaponry and impenetrable defenses. The Zarkar was equipped with the most advanced technology the galaxy had to offer, and it carried the pride of every alien empire. But now, the Zarkar was facing an enemy that refused to fall. It had never seen a force like Earth's fleet, fast, precise, and relentless. And it wasn't just the warships or the Apex units the aliens had to worry about. Humanity had shown them that Earth had something far more dangerous, a will to survive. Captain Stone stood at the front of the command deck of Terra's Wrath, the flagship of Earth's fleet. He stared at the holographic display of the alien armada closing in on their position. The Zarkar was in the lead, a massive, shadowy form that sent a wave of tension through the crew. The alien flagship was the final obstacle between Earth and victory. "It had to fall." "Report," Stone said, his voice calm but urgent. "Sir," the weapons officer replied, his voice steady but laced with concern. "The Zarkar is massive. Its weapons are on full power, and it's heavily shielded. We'll need all our firepower to bring it down. If we engage now, we risk everything." Stone looked at the screen, where the enormous alien ship loomed closer, its dark hull bristling with weapons. The alien fleet was closing in from all sides. Earth's fleet was outnumbered, but they had something the aliens didn't, a burning determination to protect their home. "Captain," a voice said from behind him. It was Captain Sarah Adams, leader of the Apex units, her voice filled with grim resolve. "We don't have time to second-guess. If we don't take the Zarkar down now, they'll come for us all." Stone nodded. "Engage them. All ships, full power." The massive Zarkar fired first, its weapons charged up with terrifying force, sending bolts of energy rippling through space. Earth's ships dodged the first barrage, their engines roaring as they moved in formation. The alien flagship's weapons were powerful, but its slow speed and massive size made it vulnerable. The first shot from Terra's Wrath cut through the air, slamming into the Zarkar's shield. The impact sent shockwaves through the alien ship, but the shields held, barely. The alien ship retaliated, its beams of energy arcing toward Earth's fleet. Terra's Wrath took the brunt of the attack, its shields flaring bright as the energy crackled across the surface. Inside Terra's Wrath, alarms blared. The shields were holding, but for how long? Stone watched the numbers ticking down on his console, knowing every second counted. Earth's fleet had to push through, or they would be overwhelmed. "Fire again," Stone ordered. The Zarkar's shields flickered as the next barrage hit, the energy from the blast visible for miles. The alien ship shook, its massive hull groaning under the strain, but it didn't fall. And as Terra's Wrath reloaded for another strike, the alien ships closed in. "We can't keep up this pace," said the weapons officer, his eyes darting between screens. "Their fleet's closing in fast. They're not backing off." Stone's heart pounded. This was it. If Earth's fleet didn't break through, they would be crushed by the weight of the remaining alien forces. But Stone refused to surrender. Not now. Not after everything humanity had fought for. "Prepare the last option," Stone said, his voice steady but determined. In the depths of Earth's flagship, engineers and technicians scrambled to activate a final weapon, the Omega Cannon, an experimental weapon designed to pierce the defenses of even the strongest alien ships. It had never been used before, but now there was no other choice. As the alien fleet pressed forward, Captain Adams's voice came over the intercom. "We're deploying the Apex units on the Zarkar. Once we breach their hull, the Omega Cannon will finish them off." Stone nodded. The plan was risky, but they had no choice. The Apex units, led by Adams herself, would board the Zarkar and disable its central command. Earth's warships would provide cover, but the real battle would be fought aboard the enemy flagship. The Apex units launched from Terra's Wrath, their transport ships slicing through the black void, heading straight for the Zarkar. They didn't wait for permission to engage. They were already preparing for what would come next. The Zarkar was huge, but the Apex units were faster, stronger, and more deadly. As their ships landed on the surface of the Zarkar, the alien forces stationed on board attempted to defend their flagship, but the Apex units tore through them with brutal efficiency. The battle was savage. The alien soldiers fought fiercely, but they were no match for the super soldiers who had come to take their ship. Meanwhile, back in space, Terra's Wrath and the rest of Earth's fleet fought with everything they had. The Omega Cannon was nearly ready. One last strike was all they needed. Inside the Zarkar, the Apex units had fought their way to the command center. Captain Adams stood at the threshold, her weapon raised. The alien leader, surrounded by his personal guards, turned to face her. "Do you think you've won, human?" he hissed, his eyes filled with rage. "We're not finished yet," Adams replied, her voice filled with cold determination. "This ends now." She stepped forward, and the battle for the Zarkar began in earnest. Back on Earth's fleet, Captain Stone watched as the countdown on the Omega Cannon hit 0. With a single command, the weapon fired. A beam of energy more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen shot out, slamming into the Zarkar. But just as it seemed the flagship was done for, a desperate transmission crackled through the comms. "We're not done yet. The Council is coming for you." The Zarkar shuddered as the Omega Cannon's energy beams sliced through its massive hull. For a moment, the alien flagship seemed to hang motionless in space, as if time had stopped. The alien fleet's final hope had been shattered in a single strike, and with it, the Council's might was in ruins. But the victory came at a cost. The Zarkar was not the only threat to humanity's survival. Despite the massive loss, the Galactic Council was not finished. They still had resources, and they were willing to use them to make one final push to destroy Earth. Inside the Zarkar, Captain Sarah Adams stood, the air thick with the acrid stench of burning metal and alien blood. Her armor was dented from close combat, but her eyes were locked on the trembling figure of the alien leader, his back pressed against the cold steel of the flagship's command center. His once proud demeanor had crumbled into a state of desperation. "You still don't get it, do you?" Adams said, her voice cold as she aimed her weapon at the alien's chest. "This ends now. Your fleets are broken, your forces scattered. There's nothing left for you but retreat. Or worse." The alien leader's eyes narrowed, and despite the fear creeping into his voice, he managed to sneer. "You may have won this battle, human, but the war is far from over. The Galactic Council will not let you get away with this. They have fleets you cannot even imagine. You're playing with fire." Adams stood silent for a moment, watching the alien leader's defiance flicker in his eyes. She had no sympathy, no remorse. Earth had been attacked, its people threatened, and now it was time to finish it. But something about the leader's words stuck with her. The Galactic Council was still a force to be reckoned with, and humanity had just provoked the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Before she could speak, An explosion rattled the Zarkar's command center, causing the walls to tremble. The alien leader's eyes widened in alarm. "Not good," Adams muttered, her instincts flaring. Meanwhile, in the cold, empty void of space, the remnants of the alien fleet began to regroup. Despite the losses they'd suffered, they were far from defeated. The Council had dispatched a new secret weapon, a fleet of ships designed to be humanity's undoing. These ships were unlike any the aliens had ever built before. They were faster, more agile, and most importantly, they had an entirely new type of weapon that had never been used in battle. The aliens had hidden this weapon for years, and now it was time to unleash it. Back in Earth's fleet, Captain Michael Stone watched the distant stars, the tension in his chest tightening with every passing second. He'd seen the enemy retreat, but something about this felt wrong. They'd won the battle, but the war wasn't over yet. "Report," Stone barked, his voice filled with unease. "Sir," the communications officer said, his voice shaky, "we're detecting an unusual formation of ships. It looks like new ships. They're faster than anything we've encountered. The signature is strange. We've never seen anything like it." Stone's grip tightened on the arm of his chair. The aliens hadn't just retreated, they were regrouping. And this new fleet was something humanity wasn't prepared for. "Damn it," Stone muttered. "Ready all defenses, and send a message to all fleet commanders. This isn't over. Not by a long shot." Inside the Galactic Council's secret war room, the leaders of the remaining alien empires were watching the disaster unfold. Despite their defeat, they were not willing to let go of their ambitions so easily. "We cannot let Earth's resistance stand. The galaxy cannot know they are capable of such power," said High Commander Valcor, the reptilian leader. "We must strike back now, before they gain more ground. Their fleet may be damaged, but the humans have shown us a terrifying truth," Councillor Jacquard said, his voice low and filled with resentment. "They have technology we didn't expect, and now they're emboldened. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. Enough talking," bellowed the towering alien commander from the Veltar race. "We've lost too many ships to let this pass. We have one weapon left, one chance to make this right." The alien leaders fell silent as the commander turned to reveal what they had been keeping hidden. A sleek, nearly invisible warship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was smaller than the Zarkar, but far deadlier. The vessel, known as the Oblivion, was equipped with a weapon so powerful it could wipe out entire planets in seconds. "This ship and this weapon will end humanity's threat to the galaxy," the commander said. "Prepare the Oblivion for launch. We strike at Earth with everything we have." Back in Earth's fleet, Stone watched as the alien ships seemed to vanish into the darkness of space, only to reappear in a new formation. The strange ships were faster, their movements unpredictable, and then the Oblivion appeared, a shadow in the void. Its energy signature was unlike anything Stone had seen before. He knew immediately what they were facing. "Prepare for the worst," Stone muttered. "If they use that weapon, we're finished." On Earth, the people had seen the victory broadcast, and for a moment the world celebrated. But that celebration was short-lived as the news spread of the new threat, the Oblivion, the final weapon of the Galactic Council. The war was far from over, and humanity had just awakened a sleeping giant that would stop at nothing to make sure Earth never rose again. As the Oblivion powered up its weapon, Stone's voice echoed across the fleet. "All ships, hold your positions. This isn't over, not until we've won." The energy gathered around the Oblivion's core, and the terrifying weapon charged to life, ready to obliterate everything in its path. The darkness of space felt heavier than ever. Captain Michael Stone watched from the bridge of Terra's Wrath as the Oblivion powered up its weapon, the energy gathering into a deadly, glowing sphere. The Galactic Council's final weapon was more than just a ship. It was a death sentence aimed straight at Earth. If they didn't stop it, the planet would be obliterated in an instant. "Shields up," Stone barked, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before him. "All ships prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not letting them get the shot off." The crew scrambled to their positions, eyes glued to their screens as the Oblivion began to charge its weapon. Its sleek, deadly form was almost invisible in the blackness of space, but the build-up of energy around it was unmistakable. Every officer aboard Terra's Wrath knew what would happen next. One shot from that weapon, and Earth's defenses would crumble. "Sir, the weapon is nearly charged," the weapons officer reported, her voice tense. "If they fire, the entire fleet could be wiped out in seconds." Stone's jaw clenched. They were facing the ultimate weapon of destruction. But humanity wasn't going to back down. Not now. Not after everything they had fought for. "Adams," Stone said into the intercom, his voice filled with resolve. "I need you and your team on the Oblivion. We have to disable that weapon no matter the cost." On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Sarah Adams and the Apex units prepared for the most dangerous mission yet. The Oblivion wasn't just another warship. It was the key to the Council's final retaliation, and they knew that if it wasn't stopped, Earth would fall. "We've been through worse," Adams said, her voice calm but resolute. "We're taking that ship down." Her team nodded, each of them already knowing their roles. They had been designed for this, to strike where the enemy thought they were safest. The Oblivion might be humanity's final challenge. But the Apex units were ready. As the transport ships carrying the Apex units entered the battle zone, Adams gave the command. "Deploy," she said, her voice ringing out across the comms. The soldiers filed out of the transport ships, their exoskeletons glowing with a deadly energy as they descended toward the Oblivion. The alien warship loomed in the distance, its dark hull a reminder of how close they were to the end. Meanwhile, Terra's Wrath and the rest of Earth's fleet fought tooth and nail to keep the alien ships at bay. Every shot fired, every explosion, every dodge was a desperate bid for survival. The Oblivion's energy core grew brighter with every passing second, and Earth's fleet had no time to waste. "Captain, they're preparing to fire," the weapons officer shouted. "It's ready." Stone's heart raced. They had only seconds before the weapon would fire, and they were no closer to stopping it. He glanced at the screen showing the battlefield. Alien ships were swarming, blocking their way, and every Terran ship was under fire. "Hold them off as long as you can," Stone ordered. "Adams, you've got one shot." "Get it done." Adams and the Apex units landed on the Oblivion with precision. The alien forces stationed on the ship had been prepared for battle, but they weren't expecting superhuman soldiers capable of moving faster than light. The Oblivion's security systems were no match for them. Adams led her team down dark corridors, cutting through alien defenses with ease. Every soldier they encountered fell before the might of the Apex units. The ship's engines rumbled beneath their feet as they made their way to the heart of the weapon, its control room. The alien soldiers fought desperately, but they were outmatched. The Apex units didn't stop, didn't hesitate. They had one mission: disable the weapon, or Earth would be gone. "Move, move, move!" Adams shouted, her voice sharp with urgency. The team pushed forward, cutting through doors and blasting through walls until they reached the control room. There, in the center of the room, the alien core hummed with energy, ready to unleash its devastating power. Adams looked at the control panel, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar technology. But she had been trained for moments like this. With a few quick commands, she hacked into the alien system, her fingers flying across the console. The countdown for the weapon's firing continued, but Adams didn't flinch. "Almost there," she said, her voice steady despite the mounting pressure. "We have to deactivate the core, now." The tension in the room was unbearable. The countdown continued. 10 seconds, 9. The Apex units stood guard, their weapons ready for any last-minute alien reinforcements. They wouldn't let anyone stop Adams. Finally, with a flash of light, the control system clicked, and the countdown halted. "We did it," Adams breathed, her voice full of relief. "The weapon is down." Back in space, Stone watched as the Oblivion's weapon powered down, its deadly energy fading away into the cold emptiness of space. He stared at the screen, watching as the alien fleet scattered in chaos. The weapon that had been Earth's greatest threat was now useless. "Adams did it," Stone said under his breath. "It's over," but the battle wasn't won yet. The remaining alien ships, now without their deadly weapon, were still formidable. Earth's fleet had to finish what they started. "Engage!" Stone ordered. Take down the rest of the fleet. In the control room of the Oblivion, the alien commander stood frozen, watching as the weapon's core powered down. His mouth was dry and his mind raced with a growing sense of dread. Earth had done the impossible again. He turned to his remaining officers, his eyes burning with anger and desperation. "We will not lose," he growled. "Prepare for retreat. But we will not run from them forever." The message was clear. The Galactic Council would not accept defeat. Earth's victory had only made them angrier. As the alien fleet scattered and Earth's forces regrouped, Stone received a chilling message. "They're not gone, Captain," the communication officer said, his voice trembling. "Another fleet is already on its way. The Council isn't finished with us yet." The screen flickered, showing a fleet of enormous warships emerging from the deep shadows of space, darker, more powerful, and ready to finish what they had started. The battle had raged for hours. The enemy was relentless, but so was humanity. Earth's fleet had been battered and bruised, but their resolve was unbreakable. The Oblivion had been neutralized, and the alien fleet, now disorganized and in retreat, was struggling to find its bearings. For a moment, the vastness of space seemed to stand still. Victory was within their grasp, but it would not come easily. Captain Michael Stone stood on the bridge of Terra's Wrath, his eyes fixed on the dark screen ahead. The alien ships that had once seemed so formidable were now scattered and crippled, their once unified front dissolving into chaos. But the war was far from over. The Galactic Council was still coming, and this time they were bringing everything they had. The communications officer's voice broke the silence. "Captain, we've detected another fleet. Much larger. It's coming in from the far side of the system." Stone's grip tightened on the console. The Council wasn't finished yet. Their final, most powerful fleet was arriving, and they were angry. "Time to finish this," Stone muttered under his breath. "All ships, prepare for final engagement. We're not running this time." As the alien reinforcements emerged from the darkness, their ships were massive, their weapons more powerful than anything humanity had faced. These ships dwarfed Earth's warships, their designs sleek and intimidating, each one a testament to the Council's arrogance and their refusal to accept defeat. "They think they can just crush us," Stone said, turning to his crew. "We've been underestimating them for too long. But it ends here. Today, humanity takes the galaxy back." The fleet positioned itself in a tight formation, Terra's Wrath at the center, surrounded by Earth's remaining warships. The final battle would take place here, in the heart of space, where victory and defeat were a breath away from each other. It was a battle not just for survival, but for the future of Earth and its place in the galaxy. "We've come a long way." Captain Sarah Adams' voice crackled over the comms. She and her Apex units were aboard the Apex Fury, the fleet's flagship, ready to give everything they had. "Let's show them why they shouldn't have messed with us." Stone's jaw clenched. "Let's make sure they never forget." The first shots from the alien fleet rang out, lighting up the dark expanse of space with brilliant, deadly fire. Earth's fleet retaliated with everything they had. The battle was a blur of explosions and flashing lights, as Terran warships unleashed devastating barrages, their beams slicing through alien ships with precision. But the aliens weren't going down easily. Their ships returned fire, their weapons tearing through the shields of Earth's warships. Terra's Wrath rocked under the impact, but its crew held strong. Stone stood tall, barking orders to his officers, moving with purpose despite the chaos surrounding him. "Deploy the fighters," Stone ordered. "We need to take out their command ships. We can't let them regroup." Earth's fighters soared into space, dodging incoming fire and engaging alien ships in a deadly dance. The Apex units deployed to the surface of the alien warships were relentless. They stormed through the alien ships, tearing down defenses, creating chaos among their ranks. Earth's soldiers, enhanced and fearless, were the final nail in the coffin. But just when it seemed like the tide was turning, the alien leader of the Council made one final, desperate move. From his flagship, the Zarkar, he activated the last-ditch weapon, the Vortex Cannon, a weapon so powerful that it could warp the fabric of space itself and tear apart entire fleets. Stone's heart sank as the massive weapon began to charge, its energy crackling ominously. If the vortex cannon fired, it would destroy everything in its path, including Earth's fleet. This was their last gamble, the Council's final attempt to destroy humanity once and for all. "They're going to fire!" the weapons officer shouted, panic in his voice. "We need to stop them now." "Focus fire on the Zarkar," Stone ordered. "We have one chance to stop this." All ships, full power. As Earth's fleet unleashed a concentrated barrage of fire at the Zarkar, the alien ship's shields flickered and cracked under the relentless assault. The alien leader, watching from his ship, clenched his fists in fury. But it was too late. Earth's combined firepower overwhelmed the Zarkar's defenses, and the vortex cannon was destroyed in a fiery explosion. The alien fleet began to crumble. Their flagship, the heart of the Council's military, had been destroyed. Without their leader's weapon, the rest of the alien ships began to fall apart. The battle was over. Back on Earth, the people watched the final moments of the battle unfold on their screens. News outlets broadcasted the victory live, and across the globe, the world erupted in celebration. Humanity had done the impossible. Against all odds, they had stood their ground and defeated an entire galaxy's worth of enemies. But the victory was bittersweet. The damage had been done, and the cost of the battle had been high. Yet there was hope. The world had united in the face of destruction, and Earth had shown the galaxy that humanity would never back down. As Stone watched the alien fleet retreating, the victory still sinking in, his heart pounded with the knowledge of what they had accomplished. Earth had not only survived, they had emerged stronger than ever. "Captain," the communications officer said, her voice filled with relief, "the fleet is retreating. The battle is over." Stone nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars outside. "We've won. But this isn't just about us. This is for the future of Earth, for every generation that comes after us." The war was over. The Galactic Council had fallen. Humanity had proven its strength. Earth had sent a message to the entire galaxy. "We are not your prey. We are humanity, and we are unstoppable." As Stone gazed out into the stars, a new message came through, one that made his blood run cold. The message was simple, its words clear. "This is not the end. We are coming, and next time we will not lose." The galaxy was still watching Earth, and Earth had made one thing clear: it was no longer the prey. It was the hunter.